Where'd she go?
The bathroom.
Oh, okay. Everything okay? You have to lift that toilet off of there.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Or you can sit
Or
on
you
top
can
of
sit
it,
on it.
doesn't matter.
So, Mom, I remember the story from someone in your family. Remember the story from the teapot that I have in my hutch. And the story was that someone's mother had written from Germany saying, I haven't heard from, wrote to her daughter who was in the United States saying, I haven't heard from you for so long. I'm worried that you were killed by the Indians because I hear there's a lot of warfare with Indians
There were.
in the Midwest.
Especially up there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so they did,
Here it
yes. Yes, it was, they had to be afraid of the Indians.
But was that your grandmother's mother that died of childbirth? Do you remember? Because the mother that wrote her that letter saying, I'm worried about you, found out that her daughter actually died in childbirth.
Had already died.
Right. But do you remember who that was? Was that your grandmother's mother? Or your grandfather's mother?
I think my grandmother's mother.
It was your grandmother's mother who had died in childbirth.
Didn't I give you letter?
I have the letter, yeah. But I
No.
just was trying to figure out who it was. If it was your grandmother's mother, because then she would have been the first generation to the U.S. soil. Would have been your great grandmother.
Uh-huh. Well, that sounds,
Does that sound right?
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm getting pretty confused anymore.
Well, that's all right. Tell Caleb about your uncle who moved to Alaska.
Oh. Uncle. Let's see, I can't even remember what his name was.
Was this your mother's brother or your
It was
father's?
my mother's brother. My mother, I think her mother had 10 children. There were a gang of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And mother was one of the younger ones. And I think that one younger daughter was born after mother, but she had died.
Yeah, you said she died. Your mother shared a bed with her.
Yes.
And your mother
She
got sick.
Got what was they had in those days?
Smallpox?
Really?
Smallpox. And
Your mother got smallpox.
yes.
And then her little sister got it too, but she didn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been really hard on Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, in those days, a lot of young children died young. Did you make out all right?
I did, thank you.
So was it, I cannot remember his name, but your mother's brother went to Alaska. Tell Caleb what he went there for.
Well, he went. I think he followed a brother, didn't he? They were out at the Golden Gate Bridge.
Wow.
I think they worked there. And
They
then,
worked construction on it, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
They were
Wow.
helped to build it.
Wow.
But then he went from the San Francisco to Alaska, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But what took him to Alaska?
Gold.
Yep.
Yeah, they were finding gold.
Yeah.
And
Did he find any?
He went to go and find some. He wanted to make a killing, I guess.
Was he successful?
No, just nuggets.
Just little
Just
nuggets.
nuggets.
I remember my mother had some, and I had some too, didn't I?
I'm not
You
sure.
don't remember?
I'll have to look.
We should have done this a long time ago.
We should have been pushier about it.
So, he never married. This was the
Yeah,
He-
Uncle. God, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't remember who he was. Because when we went out there, we were looking, see if there was any record of him. Because he, what did they give him, land?
Oh.
You know, and
Yeah.
Uncle.
It wasn't Uncle Albert, was it? Was that Dad?
Nah, that was your.
That was Grandpa's
my father's brother,
Okay.
Albert. I'm talking about my mother's.
Yeah.
Because there were that many children, you know, and he left and he went to California. Somebody to
With the
find
brother.
gold.
Yeah.
And he came back home. There's some story about when I was just an infant. And I remember in Rochester, my uncle, Elmer. My dad had a brother, Elmer,
Yeah.
who lived in Rochester, Minnesota, and who was a optician.
Oh.
Well, he was actually a doctor, but not an ophthalmologist, which is a MD.
Okay.
He was the what?
An ophthalmologist is
He'd
the
be what?
ophthalmologist is the MD,
Yeah.
as opposed to an optometrist.
He was
Yeah.
an optometrist.
Mm.
Uncle Elmer was an optometrist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how your dad got into the field, probably.
Yes, he did actually. But
But he was an optician, your father. He was not an
Optometrist versus an optician.
Your dad was an optician.
He'd fit you for
He
glasses.
fitted you for glasses, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he was the manager of the eyeglass store,
Of the
American,
American Optical Company
in Fort Wayne.
in Fort Wayne. He was, they said they had an opening there. And that's when he asked my mother to marry him. And
Yeah. So, and you worked there too.
Hmm?
And you worked there too.
yeah, but he, in that turnover, where did he go? He went first to Illinois.
To get trained or something, didn't he?
Maybe so. I don't know. That was before the Fort Wayne Opticals opened, I guess.
Yeah.
And he was working there, and then they asked if he wanted to go to Fort Wayne, and that's when he said to my mom, "Come on, let's get married and you come with me."
And your mother went to business school, didn't she?
Yes, see, now she didn't actually go to high school. In those days,
Oh.
they come out of 8th grade, would it be, and go into, they could go into this business school.
Oh.
And that's what she did.
Makes a lot of sense.
She worked, for a while. Then she did have what did she do? She had a piano.
Piano?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And she had taken lessons, but
never did that.
After she left, she couldn't take. Well, cost an arm and a leg even to ship that thing, and she didn't have the money to do that. And she just finally, I guess, she told her mother to sell it,
Oh.
but.
So did your mom give piano lessons? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think she must have had some.
Okay. I didn't know that about Grandma Wick.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But I don't think she remembered much, you know. She had nothing after that. She was married, you know.
Yeah.
What about Grandpa's side?
Oh yeah. Caleb had a good question. He said, "Can you tell us a little bit about Grandpa's side, Bob Young? What do you know about their family?"
Oh. Well, you know, his father died when he was only 33.
Mm.
And,
And Dad was 8.
pardon?
And my dad, was 8.
Was he 8 or
Mhm.
6, 7?
He was 8. Aunt Doris was 5, and Aunt Helen was still in the womb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's right. And his father died because he was working in the knitting mills. And that was a big thing in Philadelphia when they had the knitting mills. A lot of people were employed there. And he put a needle through his finger. And he got,
A blood infection.
blood infection. I
Oof.
used to know
Septic.
Huh?
Septic? Was it called septic? Or
Sepsis.
sepsis?
No.
That's what I thought it was.
Something start with an S, I think.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it was now. But, yeah, and he died.
Yeah.
He wasn't sick too long, I don't think. You know, they didn't have the antibiotics they have today.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was your dad's father, right?
Right.
What?
So he would have died in like 1931, his father.
What?
Well, because Dad was born in 1923, and if he was 8,
Oh, I see.
so it would have been 1931 that he died.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess antibiotic must have been discovered after that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
During World War II, I think.
Is that right?
Mm.
Oh, okay.
I think it was.
Okay. And his father, so Grandma Gillis's father, because Dad was raised by 2 aunts then,
Mm-mm.
by his Aunt Mary and his Aunt Nell.
Yeah, see, his mother had no skills. In those days, you know, the women, and she had no way of keeping the family.
Hmm.
So she moved in with her mother,
And father.
and the girls were still at home, and the 2 children were with her. You know, she was expecting, and it just didn't work out. You know, the girls, I guess, having the crying babies around and so forth.
The grandparents weren't very
Huh?
The grandparents weren't very compassionate, it sounds like.
Well, they were busy, you know,
Yeah.
you know, it took a lot of work to run a home in a place, those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who was the grandfather that lived with Dad, with Aunt Nell, Aunt Marion? It must have been Aunt Nell, Aunt Marion's, and Dad's father lived with them in Philadelphia
Yes.
on off of Roosevelt Boulevard, northern Philadelphia.
Well, I don't think they lived there. They lived in Burholm when he
Burholm,
was
that's
living.
right. That's right. Burholm.
Yes.
Hmm.
They lived in Burholm, and that's where, you know, Tony DeVincent,
Yeah.
he was a neighbor of theirs, and he'd come over and help. Bob was, he'd come over and help Bob's I guess his grandfather, and he'd be giving them give 'em money, and but didn't give it, anything to Bob. He didn't do anything. Bob was a little upset with all that.
Who's this guy? Tony.
Tony DeVincent. His grandfather would give Tony money, but not not his grandson.
Uh,
Oh, that's funny.
and who's
Yeah.
Tony?
That was just my dad's best
Neighbor.
friend, neighbor.
What?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we after the war, Aunt Anna lived out there too in the same neighborhood. And Uncle Bill, yeah.
In Fort Wayne. This was Aunt Anna was my dad's aunt, who lived down the street from Grandma's parents
And
and Grandma.
And she and my mother were very close.
And that's how the two of them met,
Mm.
Dad and Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what was I telling you about? What'd they do? See, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, your grandfather lived with Aunt Nell and Aunt Marion and Dad. And was he the first one to come from Scotland to America?
Oh
Did
no,
he?
Let's see. We made that trip all the way up there so Bob could see it. And I remember somebody saying no Scotsman's going to marry my sister. I remember hearing those words. I can't remember what it was about.
But his father, what I remember the story, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, was he came over from Scotland, and his wife died. And then he remarried. He married again, and then he had...
That's what he remarried Bob's grandmother, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when they had the 8 kids, right? Didn't they have 8 kids? As Aunt Nell, Aunt Marion, Uncle John, Uncle Bill, Uncle Bob, Dad,
Yeah.
Grandpa, Uncle Jim, and I forget. Feels like there's another one. But when he married the second time, that's when he had the 8 kids.
There were 2 Johns.
Yeah, that's right. One John died, and then another one was born. They named him John again.
Mm. That's funny.
List of names was short.
Oh yeah, and there was a little girl that died too.
Aw.
Elizabeth, maybe.
No,
She was little when she died.
you mean like younger than Marion.
Right.
Yeah.
The little one,
I can't think what her name was.
Elizabeth.
Oh, was it?
I'm pretty sure. Growing up, Dad's mother, we saw her often, and
Mhm.
she was a storyteller.
Yeah.
So I know Dad's side of the family so much better because she would sit, and you just sit down next to Grandma, and she'd start to tell you the family story. And now I'm so thankful for that
Mm.
because I really would have
Yeah.
not known my family history if I hadn't sat there and listened to stories of all the how my great aunt Elizabeth would have died, and the fact they put her out. I can't remember who, but they would take the front door off the house, and lay them
Carried-
out.
They were talking
When
about
they-
she was the one that kept
Lay the
and
body
Nell
on the
kept
door.
saying that's why Bob was so tall because of this woman. And that's what they when she, you know, where they brought her into their home, they carried her on she took a door off of one of or they did, you know, one of the doors off and carried her over it was like a stretcher, you know,
Yeah.
Is her
over
body?
to the other house so they could take care of her there.
Is this your
Oh.
dad's bio mom or?
No, this was my grandma. That told me
Grandma
all the
Gilman.
stories. Was actually his aunt, but it was
Yeah,
who
I
raised him.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure whether
Yeah.
because you referred to her as.
I know we always called her grandma, but she
Mm.
was really my great aunt that raised my father.
Mm.
Yeah, she was.
Did you ever meet the real grandmother, the bio?
She died before I was born. Dad's real mother died before I
Did
was
she?
born. I think she died between me and Dan. Like she might have been alive when Dan was born, but
Oh, I thought she knew that we were having a daughter.
well, maybe she died when I was tiny. Somewhere in the early '60s, she died of pancreatic cancer, right?
Yes, yes,
Mm.
she did. His real mother, you
What was
mean?
her name?
Edna.
Do you remember the farm?
Yes.
Do you?
Well, I remember visiting her husband, who she had married, but she wasn't there. He had remarried someone, hadn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
so I
he
remember going to visit him and his wife.
did. His wife, yeah.
But it was Dad's mother's name was Edna,
Mm-hmm.
and what was her maiden name?
McFarland?
Yeah, that sounds
Hmm.
right.
McFarland?
Yeah, there was a McFarland in there somewhere. I don't remember if that was
I think that
his
was.
his grandmother's name, or his mother's name was McFarland.
I
So that
think
was
so.
Scotch, not Irish, right? That was a Scottish name, not an Irish name, right? McFarland.
She might have been Irish because I always remember Dad would say he was Scotch Irish.
I know, but he wasn't the Catholic Irish.
Yeah.
Evidently, Ireland was divided.
Still is.
Is it?
You mean between Catholic and Protestant?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is it?
I mean, they get along better than ever, but yeah, they're still divided.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to fight, and there was terrorism and that sort of thing that happened, but that has quelled quite a bit.
But Dad also had German in him too.
Yes, well, it's from his mother's side.
Mm.
His mother side was German.
So she wasn't the McFarland then, right? Edna?
Well, she might have
Oh
married.
no, Koenig.
There we go.
Koenig.
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 Edna.
Koenig.
Koenig. Hmm.
Koenig, I think.
Grandma, can you tell us a little bit of what it was like around World War II time?
No. Well, I was still a kid in high school, actually.
Mm.
But I'll tell you, the boys, like there was one boy that I can recall, they took him right out of high school. He had to, because he had, I guess, flunked something, that he was older in the class, and they gave him a diploma. You know, he
Yeah,
got his
okay.
diploma,
Yeah.
but they took him right in,
Mm.
and that's the way the guys, what happened to him. You know,
So there was no lottery, just
No.
Yeah.
and your father joined so that he could pick where he wanted to serve, and so he went. Where did he go?
He went to New Guinea.
Did he?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Part of the communication corps.
Oh,
Signal
okay,
Corps.
because he
Signal
worked for
Corps.
a telephone company. See,
Yeah.
and
You know,
Dick, my brother Dick, they figured him to be, they said he worked for the optical company, so they figured he was some kind of an optician or doctor or something, you know. But when they got him into that department, they found he didn't have the knowledge, so his job was given to, he was given to catalyze all the officers' booze.
What did he do?
He cataloged. He worked in the mess tank, right? He worked in the, like, kind of where they, the big tents where they ate, right? This is Uncle Richard.
Yeah.
But you said he would have to catalog the booze, like keep track of it.
Oh.
Yeah, that was his job there. And you know, you could see
Where
the
did he
Lord
serve?
had a hand in it, because at that time the guys were put right in the front lines.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just, that's where they went.
Yeah.
And so we often said that, you know, you knew the Lord had a
Plan
hand
for
in.
him.
Mhm.
Yeah. So do you remember what part of where was he stationed, Uncle Richard? Do you know?
He was in the, you said the Philippines for Bob?
Guinea.
New Guinea.
New Guinea.
So I think he was in the Philippines.
Oh.
I think that was right.
They have a baton death march.
Boy,
yeah, that's a rough.
You're really rough in my.
We're testing your brain cells.
You sure are.
You know, you talked about the diploma, Mom. I know for my dad, he left high school and then he came back after the war and finished high school.
Oh, really?
After 2 years went by.
Oh.
Yeah, well, Bob was overseas 3 years.
Yeah.
He was just gone quite a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
But of course, I didn't know him at the time.
But you wrote to him, didn't you? Write to him when he was
I
overseas?
had one letter.
Oh, one letter.
And that's what Aunt Anna wanted me to write to him. So we exchanged one letter. And what do you say to one of his buddies? I have to write to this, because I was really quite a bit, well, I was 4 years younger than he was. So I was a kid to him. Yeah. And it wasn't until De Vincent was stationed. He had been shot
Oh, I didn't know
and was in a hospital in Indianapolis.
that. Oh.
And Aunt Anna knew him from where they lived in Philadelphia, there in the same neighborhood, and knew. She got in touch, and she invited him to come to Fort Wayne and to her house, and this is. Now, who was this I'm talking about?
Tony DeVincent.
Now, and so she invited him to come to her house, and I met him.
Yeah.
I have a picture of me someplace, you know, the two of us standing together where but then I guessed Aunt Anna must have told him that he was writing to me, you know, so there was one letter, but all there was one letter. And but Tony, he came back, and Bob came back, and he told him, "You better check that girl out in Indiana."
Aww.
Aw.
So that's one he took before he even went back to work. See, they kept their jobs open for him. He was able to go back to
Bell
telephone. And they kept, their jobs open for them when they went into the service, which was nice.
Mhm.
And so he just took a little time off, and Aunt Nell wanted to. He drove Aunt Nell out to. Maybe Aunt Anna was with them too. I'm not sure. To Fort Wayne, and my folks had taken that. It was a long holiday weekend, probably Memorial Day. They were up in Minnesota visiting family. And Aunt Anna said, let Carolyn and Alfred, Dick was in the service, so he wasn't at home. Have Carolyn and Alfred come over and have dinner at our house with us, or at my house. And then they'll have at least one decent meal. So that's what we did. We just came home from work, and we'd go over to Aunt Anna's, and she would feed us. So when this is how I met Bob.
Because he was visiting his aunt.
Yeah. So and he had taken Aunt Nell. Was it Aunt Nell he lived with? Yeah. Over to see, in Indiana, see her brother. See, it was Uncle Bill that was the young that
Right.
who was really
Which was Aunt Nell's brother, Bill Young.
Mm-hmm. They all lived in the same neighborhood
Yeah.
at one time.
So that's the connection. Is in the town you lived in, Dad's grandpa's uncle lived in the town, or was it aunt?
His
In Fort Wayne.
Dad's dad's brother.
So his uncle.
Yes, his uncle.
Okay.
And aunt. Aunt by marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they lived around the corner from Grandma's mom and dad,
Yeah.
where Grandma was raised. Like they lived
And they were family friends, I guess.
and went to the same church.
Yeah.
And
And
Aunt Anna
and Mom were
were very good friends.
Yeah, and during the war, there were you didn't get much gas, and everything was rationed.
Yeah.
So Dad would take one day a week. Dad would take the trolley. It stopped not far from us, on Euclid Avenue, across Anthony there, over there. They take that. He would take that to work and leave the car, and then Anna was the only one who knew how to drive. My mother didn't, and she would take my mom, and they'd go grocery shopping.
Aww.
Mm.
That's sweet.
That is sweet. So Aunt Anna didn't have a car, but she knew how to drive. Is that how it worked? Or
Well,
maybe
there was
Uncle Bill took the car to work,
I
maybe.
think Uncle Bill took the car to work. I
Yeah.
guess that was how it was. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh yeah, she drove.
And I wonder how
She drove back and forth. Rob was just a baby one time, and she had me and Rob in the back seat. And who else did she have with her? Her mother. She kept her mother 6 months, and her sister
would
had her. She lived with her sister.
is Aunt
for 6
Anna.
months.
So she would drive back and forth to Philadelphia to pick up her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Pick her up or leave her off,
Yeah.
But you remember Ethel. Well, this was Ethel's mother, who was a sister to Aunt Anna.
Okay, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Elsie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the cute woman in the photo album.
Really?
Yeah,
And Chelsea.
in your wedding photo album, the little one, it says my daughter's wedding on it or something.
Oh, that was my grandmother actually. Well, she was an Aunt Nell. She was not
Okay.
my grandmother. She was my grandfather's sister, but raised my
Mother's
dad.
sisters.
And then it was
raised
her
dad.
brother, but they look like they're married in that picture. But
Yeah.
it's actually brother and sister.
Aw.
You're talking
Yeah.
about Uncle John.
Uncle John and Aunt Nell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Betty likes the name Elsie.
I do. I think it's,
I had an
I think it's a
Elsie,
cute
too.
name.
We had two Aunt Elsies, didn't we?
Hmm?
Well, I
Did we
had
have
one.
two Aunt Elsies in the
Yes.
family?
Yeah.
3.
3
So now three.
in your family.
Who was that? Aunt
It's a cute
Elsie
name.
Forbes. I remember them saying Aunt Elsie Forbes and Aunt Elsie Peterson.
So wasn't Elsie was married to Uncle John, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other Elsie was married to Uncle Jim.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And there was also two brothers that married two sisters in the family. And on Dad's side of the family.
I remember some
Wasn't
of
it
that.
Uncle Jim and Aunt Elsie married and Aunt Elsie, Aunt Vera?
No, Aunt Elsie and it was on the tip of my tongue.
Sorry.
Who'd you say?
I thought it was Aunt Vera was
No,
one of
no,
the
no.
sisters. No? Okay.
No, she never had children.
Are you
Aunt
sure?
Vera.
Oh, I know, but she was the sister that married, the two sisters that married two brothers. I thought was Elsie and
that
Vera.
Wait, the sisters that married two brothers. That was Elsie Forbes. Or was it Elsie Peterson? Who was the other sister?
I thought it was Aunt Vera, but I could be wrong.
No.
Okay. Was it Aunt Anna?
Could
No.
be, yeah. And Aunt and Elsie were sisters.
And-
That's why they drove the mother back and forth.
Oh, okay.
There you
So
go.
Aunt Anna was married to Uncle Jim, and Aunt Elsie was married to.
And Elsie was married to Uncle Jim.
Oh, and Aunt Anna was married to Uncle Bill. That's right. Okay.
You got him?
Yep, I got it.
You got it?
We got him. He's got
Yeah.
the camera down there.
Oh,
Yep.
that's good.
It's documented.
Yeah.
Is this a good angle?
Is this a good angle?
I'd never remember all this.
Yeah. So my dad's dad was, my dad's, wait a
Father.
minute, I'm trying to figure out who the McFarlane was. And that was, cause I know McFarlane's in the family, but that would have been, where we need to go, Dad's grandmother, his dad's wife was McFarlane. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, there's a McFarlane in there somewhere because I remember Dad talking about McFarlane's.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, I think so. Well, Mom,
And you got this stuff written down somewhere, don't you, Carol?
I do. You know who has this history that we'll have to go visit is Uncle Al. On your side of the family, Uncle Al knows all of it.
Yeah, he did more research, didn't he?
Yeah. He has it somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't know. Hopefully
Hmm.
hopefully he'll make it computerized before he goes home to Jesus.
Yes, you better should. Well, he still remembers.
Yeah.
What life advice?
Hmm?
What life advice would you give?
What would be your life? What wisdom would you like to give your grandchildren?
Just remember, Lord is He's your, what do I want to say? The Lord is, see, I can't even think right anymore. It makes me upset.
Are you thinking Psalm 23, the Lord is your shepherd? Is that what you're thinking?
No, this book has been wonderful. I've been reading, and it has a lot of Bible passages in it. Given, seeking ye shall find, knock, it shall be open to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good advice, Mom.
Hmm?
Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Were you thinking always seek the Lord? Always seek Him in your life? Is that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
He is your light and salvation.
Pardon?
He is your light and salvation.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's something, and sometimes I sit here and I think, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting to do this,
Oh,
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I hope with some help.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
I didn't know much, so I feel very informed now.
All right.